From the EPAWA headquarters in South Allentown, Pennsylvania, it's time for Weather Weeklies, an informative video of the ins and outs of weather that affect you most in the EPAWA coverage area. The following segment is a weekly video blog, and the opinions of the forecaster do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff of Eastern PA Weather Authority LLC as a whole, nor its constituents. Without further ado, here is meteorologist Bobby Martrich with Weather Weeklies.
Hey, good Sunday morning to you. Another edition of Weather Weeklies for September 20th, 2015. And we're going to get right into our long range today, and as we usually do, and start off what we're looking at. This was just updated, I believe, yesterday or the day before. And we have temperatures that were above average through yesterday, but we are now seeing an influx of some cooler air for your Sunday here that's going to allow for the next several days from the 21st to 25th to be near to slightly below average in temperatures. And I do think we moderate and go up slightly above again from the 26th to about the 2nd, October 2nd or so. After that, we're below average, and I think we remain that for much of the month of October. We talked about this in previous videos, how much this is following our past analogs, but also we have SOI values that continue to drop. And just looking at some recurving typhoons in the Pacific and things like that are really contributing to October being a colder than average month. And I'm not talking about colder like significantly colder. I think the entire month will end up somewhere between 1 and 3 Fahrenheit below normal when you average out the entire month as a whole. So you will have your ups and down periods. It's not going to be every single day 3 degrees below normal. I'm talking about the composite average at the end for the entire month, and that's shown right here, October temperature below average. We think that's going to be shown as well. Now, one thing we're going to be doing here, we're updating the long range every single week like we have throughout the off season here. And as we get through winter here, we're going to be doing the same thing. Every Friday, this will be updated. So if you look at our long range forecast, our long range page, this will be updated every Friday. We also will be updating this every single day in our forum, every single day. So we're going to have some a couple of things that pop up here, like maybe some significant weather events. Well, this week we don't really have too much. We have a cold front here coming through. That says most will remain dry. That was what came through last night, and it really didn't do too much unless you were out by us in central PA here, and then it kind of died as it went east. And then low offshore moving out to sea. That's going to stay off towards south and east this week too. So there's really nothing affecting our coverage area this week. But when we have storms pop up, especially in winter, we're going to have those outlined here, but we're not going to elaborate them publicly. We're not going to elaborate on them at all. So if you want to get an up-to-date information, the most up-to-date information, that's going to be done in our My Pocket Meteorologist forum. We'll be constantly discussing the changes, the model changes, model analysis, and things like that in very much detail when we get into winter. So I hear people, on the Facebook page a lot of times that we'll put something out. Here's our long range, and people ask specific questions, and they go unanswered. They will continue to go unanswered because we have a pay forum here for this, and this is what this is for. And I can't give it away free, or we can't give it away for free if it's already under a paywall. So just understand that. If you want specifics about the long range or anything updates to these long range besides our weekly products, you'll have to go through the Eastern PA Weather Authority forum in order to get that. You can find that link below this video with information of how to get involved in the forum. Here's a look at what we're doing at right now. This is the upcoming week. And of course, this is these blues and greens here. This is the cool air settling here over the northeastern United States. We have cool air back here up into southwestern Canada, and a warm sector in between here. So we're going to be in this cooler regime here. This is that 21st to 25th, what we were talking about. But then after that, 26th through October 2nd, we're slightly above. And now we're not talking about anything crazy here. This is only on this chart here. You see, this is only +2, +1, +2, +3. That's about it. But you do have, this is looking at the 30th, you do have all this cool air right here. And again, there's a couple different factors. It's not just the analogs we looked at. There's some recurrent typhoons, the SOI drops. This is all promoting this trough to settle in here and come back in here and stay here, we think, for most of October. So the one last gasp here, and this is only slightly above. So we're not talking about mid 80s or upper 80s and 90s, anything like that. This is talking about just 1, 2, 3, 4 degrees above normal. Of course, normal right now for this time of year is somewhere about maybe upper 60s to mid to upper 70s from north to south are temperatures here across our coverage area. So we have, if you're only a couple degrees above normal here, you're not really talking about a big very high temperatures or anything like that. So I do want to shift gears now. That's this week coming up. I do want to shift gears and go to our sea surface temperatures. We are going to talk about this and look in relation to winter every single time we do one of these weather weekly videos. This is our current sea surface temperatures. Again, greatest warming right now is probably Nino 3. In 1 and 2 over here where it is much less. And we're starting to see an expansion of this warmth westward, and that's what you want to see if you want a hope for a cold and snowy winter. Sea surface temperatures, just in short, sea surface temperatures are basically what runs the weather patterns for the entire globe. Okay, so that's why these are so important. That's why we're talking about the sea surface temperatures so much. Sea surface temperatures drive our climate, and they drive the temperatures and the weather patterns that you would have in each season. Okay, you can see the colder anomalies here are in blue, and this is a cold area, the blue and the green. Anything warm like this is a warm PDO. Okay, this is El Nino. All right, so that's warm too. And this area up here is a cooler pool up here in the northern Atlantic, very warm off the eastern coast. Okay, so these are all factor in. The combination of these is what makes our weather, and we can use this to see the trends of what this is doing. You see if this is increasing, decreasing, if this is increasing or decreasing, if this is increasing or decreasing. We can look at trends and compare it to past analog and say, well, that this year did the same thing or something similar. So we can expect something similar to occur for winter. Now that's not all that goes into it. There's a lot of things that go into it. Okay, there's a lot of it shorter range stuff, like you could have you could talk about NAOs, the blocking over Greenland. There's a lot of different factors that go into this. So when we go into winter here, we're going to put out winter forecast on November 13th, and it is going to be number one based. It is going to be analogs, but it's going to be also going off of trends and what we can see observationally, what we can see in actual observations that will give us the clues of how winter is going to transpire. Because when you're in November, trying to forecast for December is one thing. That's not that hard. When you go and try to do December, January, February, March, and go 3-4 months out, it becomes a little bit more difficult. Now, the areas we're most concerned about are if you want a good winter anyway, if you want a very snowy winter, you want, here's Hawaii, by the way, here's Hawaii sitting right here. You want the focus of your warming to be right about here, okay, somewhere in here. Right now it's still a little bit further east, but it's starting to move to the west. Okay, once it gets in here, you have you have your convection will start to fire here. Okay, and I'll show you that here in a graphic in a second. All your convection fires here, when you have convection firing in this area, that's your Madden-Julian oscillation, it throws heights at the western ridge, which allows a ridge to form here in the western United States. If you have a ridge in the west, you have a trough in the east, and you have cold air coming here into the northeast United States. That's the whole idea in winter. Okay, we're not there yet. Here's your Nino regions. Again, here's Hawaii right here. Okay, right now your best warming right here is out here in Nino 3. Sit right here, sitting right about here. Okay, you want this to come over here a little bit further, more to Nino 3.4, which is this big black box right here. So anywhere between, say, 120 west and about 170, well, about 160, 170. Okay, that's where you want your focus is your best warming. So basically below Hawaii and up to about 120 west. Right now, you definitely don't want a Nino 1 and 2 or the eastern portions of Nino 3. We're starting to steer away from that now. Okay, so if you had that, obviously you'd be throwing heights at the eastern ridge, and then you would be very warm in winter. This is what happened in 1997. Here's a look at that. Okay, focus of the best warming was right here, far east, Nino 1 and 2, eastern portions of Nino 3. Well, that's going to put your convection here. And you're throwing heights up here. Well, you're throwing heights here. That's called, you're going to have a ridge here and warm. That's what we had in 1997, 1998. That's why we only had, most places had less than an inch of snow the entire winter. So it's not just El Nino. Everybody, you can have, I don't care how warm this gets. Really don't. You just need to have the best warming to be right in here, because then your convection will start to fire right in here where the best warming is. Throw heights of this western ridge. Western ridge builds up, and you get a trough in the eastern United States. And a trough means colder air. Okay, so that's the whole idea. That's just a general concept. There's a lot more specific stuff that needs to go into this yet. Here's a propagation chart that shows you what we have been since the month of June. Again, we did start off with this. This is why everybody, when everybody was talking about this Godzilla El Nino and matching it up to 97, 98. Well, look at that was right around June, just 24th of June. It did look like 97, 98. It was all warming in the eastern regions right here and not over here. So I can see why they were making the comparison. I don't fault them for that at all. But you see what happened over the next couple months. Here's what it is right now. The 9th of September, it abandoned this area and is now moving westward. So now these are in favorable areas for the development of this El Nino in 3.4 versus 1 and 2. Okay, this is no longer looks like 1997, not at all. Again, here's our current sea surface temperatures. Here's 1997. Yeah, it doesn't look like that. Okay, so completely different. And then the model projections over the next couple weeks is to have the best forcing over Nino 4, Nino 3 and Nino 4, or Nino 3.4 and Nino 4. So that's areas further west. If that's the case, the best convection fires here, and then you're throwing heights of the western ridge. That's going to abandon this area here, which is what we want. If you want cold and snow. I keep saying this is what you want, because this is what we want, and it's what we want because it keeps us busy. If Nino's over here, we're not busy. Okay? It doesn't mean we love snow. I hate shoveling snow. I hate driving in snow. I love forecasting snow. Big difference. Okay, so we're not there yet. This is the week 4 of the European model. So this is just showing a projection of the European model for week 4. This is now in the second week of October, showing the best forcing up in this area. So the models are starting to pick up on this as well. Your best warming will be out here in the central regions. Also, here's the latest CSV2 forecast for El Nino. Has it peaking again right around November 1st. Right around November 1st. So whatever El Nino we have going on right now peaks and then starts to decline after that point. So it's not going to be peaking in winter like some were saying before. I think it peaks here and then it drops. This is 3.4 and it's going to get close to Super Nino territory. Might not quite make it if the CFS is correct. Some other models are saying it will make it. Of course, the threshold to make it here is 2.5. Here's your 1I index right here. This is where you need to be to have a Super Nino. You still see several models up here above it, but the majority of them are below. And the mean is also below. So I think we're going to come close to the very strong El Nino. Not quite make it. So it will be a strong El Nino below 2.5, and then it starts to drop. So that's important because we use our analogs. And this is my favorite analog, 1907, 1958. We were talking about this in the last video here. I'm not going to get too much into this here. But it did start off mild here in December, like many of the analogs did for the month of December. I really don't have any doubts right now that the month of October will be below normal. The month of November will be above normal. December will be above normal. Okay, so we're not going to have a ton of snow in December. Doesn't mean we can't have snow in December. Just means, it can be timed right, but the majority of the month is above normal as far as temperature is concerned. January is a transition month. We start to increase those colder temperatures here in the southeastern United States. It starts creeping up toward our area. This is a transition month. It might start off warm and at some point flip. February looks very cold. March looks very cold. Okay, and this is based on the 57-58 analog and many others. I do think we're going to flip at some point. The question is when. And I do favor 1957, 1958. I think that's the right idea. But keep in mind, just because it's very cold, it can be cold and dry. All right, it doesn't necessarily have to be cold and wet. And I'm going to give you a perfect example of this. This is the second half winter of 1957, 1958. You basically were saved by 2 big storms. Okay, one is the middle of February, one is mid to late March. And look how much snow fell just from these 2 storms. Okay, you had this storm here. Now these light blues here are 10 to 20 inches of snow. Dark blues 20 to 30 inches of snow. Any red is 30 or more. So here's the one in February over our coverage area here. Dumped a tremendous amount of snow here. Okay, tremendous amount of snow. All right, and then we get into the one in mid-March and even more concentrated over just our coverage area. Many 20-inch plus amounts. So it wasn't like we flipped on a dime in the second half. We were really, really, really busy in terms of frequency. We had some really big storms. We had more snow. Okay. Now, for example, I mean, just in these two storms alone, we made up about, in some places, 30 to 40 inches of what fell in the second half of the season. This doesn't mean that this will happen again like this year. This will be case-by-case basis. These two storms were a result of a negative NAO that was in place at that time. So if that negative NAO is not there in February and March, you can say goodbye to these. Okay? So the whole point is here we have a long way to go. We're going to look at seasonal trends and just see what we're dealing with the best analogs right now. My favorite is 5758, but we do have several we're looking at that are still plausible. And we're going to take a every week approach this, looking at these sea surface temperatures here and see how the best warming is and where it's positioned, and see what past analogs follow that, just to come up with our winter forecast as a basis of a winter forecast. Look at some other things that will go into that as well. And of course, we'll come out with that on November 13th. But in the meantime, you can follow this every day. We're going to this updated every single week with every Friday with the table here and the updated discussion on long range here. But it's going to be very vague. If you want the details, Monday through Friday, every single day, you will find that in the My Pocket Meteorologist forum. Of course, you can find that below this video, and information of how to sign up for that, become a part of that as we head through the winter of 2015-2016. I'm Eastern PA Weather Authority meteorologist Bobby Martrich, and that is this week's edition of Weather Weeklies for September 20th, 2015. Have a great week.